What's happening in the WNBA right now is absolutely wild. Sophie Cunningham, who plays with Diana Taurasi on the Phoenix Mercury, recently made some eye-popping comments about Caitlin Clark that are leaving people stunned. And believe it or not, that's just scratching the surface. Caitlin Clark isn't just putting up numbers on the court. She's changing the game itself. She's been smashing records, pulling off impossible plays, and shaking up the Indiana Fever in ways no one saw coming. And get this, some of the seasoned veterans are starting to feel a bit envious. Yep, the rookie is making waves so big that it's ruffling the feathers of some long-standing stars. But hold on, let's take a closer look at what Cunningham said that's got everyone buzzing. In a recent interview, she dropped some serious thoughts on Caitlin Clark.
But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it. And I'm a huge fan, and I never say that, but I think it's fun what she's doing.
Can you believe what this means? A veteran player who shares the court with the iconic Diana Taurasi is giving major props to a rookie. That's not something you see every day in the WNBA, but Sophie didn't stop there. She had more to say.
When it comes to viewership, man, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn about our league, but I think that's a really fun thing. And if you have really anything negative to say about all the viewership and everything that this rookie class is doing, I just think that you're not capitalizing on it and you might be a little jealous. So
Sophie just dropped a truth bomb on anyone throwing shade at Caitlin Clark's success and the other rookies in the league. She's basically saying that if you're not on board with how the WNBA is growing, then the issue might be with you. But why is Sophie, an established player, going all out to defend Clark and the rookies? Simple. It's all about the impact. Clark isn't just playing great basketball. She's completely changing how people view the WNBA. Since she stepped into the league, viewership has exploded. Games that used to have empty seats are now packed. People aren't just watching Indiana Fever games, they're buying tickets, jerseys, and buzzing about the WNBA on social media like never before. And here's the kicker. Clark is pulling all this off as a rookie. She didn't need years to adjust or build a fan base. She came in and started dominating right away. That's why Sophie and other savvy players are seeing that Clark's success is tied to the success of the league itself. In just the last 5 games, Clark's been on fire, averaging 22.6 points, 8.4 assists, and 4.8 rebounds. But that's not all. She's shooting 48.1% from the field and an impressive 44.4% from beyond the arc. These aren't just good numbers for a rookie, they're elite, even for seasoned pros. And what's most incredible is that she's not just stacking up stats for herself, she's lifting the entire team. With Clark on the court, the Fever have gone from barely scraping by to becoming serious title contenders. Oh, and that record for most points generated in a WNBA season? Clark is on track to break it. She's already ranked among the top 3 rookies of all time for total points, and the season's not even over. But it's not just about scoring. Clark is redefining what it means to be a point guard in this league. Her assists aren't just routine passes, they're jaw-dropping plays. She's seeing and creating opportunities that leave even the commentators speechless. And here's the wild part. She's doing all of this against defenses that are built specifically to shut her down. Entire teams are shifting their strategies just to contain Caitlin Clark, but she's still out there dominating. That's why veterans like Sophie Cunningham are so impressed. Clark isn't just excelling. She's changing the entire game. She's pushing teams and players to evolve. And in doing so, she's raising the level of competition across the WNBA. Let's dive into something Cunningham brought up that's been stirring the pot in the league: the jealousy and criticism aimed at Caitlin Clark. Sounds crazy, right? A rookie making such a huge impact that it's got veterans feeling envious. But that's exactly what's happening. Some players, and even some fans, are complaining about all the attention Clark's getting, saying it's overhyped or that she's stealing the spotlight from more experienced players. But let's be real, this is just plain jealousy. As Sophie Cunningham wisely pointed out, those who are grumbling about the attention Clark is bringing to the league are missing out on the bigger picture and maybe feeling a bit envious. She's absolutely right. Clark's success doesn't take away from any other player's value. In fact, the more attention the WNBA gets, the better it is for everyone. More fans mean more revenue, which can lead to higher salaries, better conditions, and more opportunities for all players. Clark is literally expanding the league's market. She's attracting new fans, people who might never have watched a WNBA game before. And once they're hooked, they're not just watching Clark, they're getting introduced to all the incredible talent the league has to offer. That's why smart players like Cunningham are embracing the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. They understand that when one player shines, it benefits the whole league. Clark's success is lifting the WNBA to new heights, and that's good for everyone. Maybe Caitlin Clark not playing for Team USA at the Olympics turned out to be a blessing in disguise. In her first WNBA game back after the break, she put on one of the best performances of her career. She definitely heard all the talk, not just from Diana, who said, "Reality is coming," but also from the Mercury's social media, where they claimed they'd prefer their 6-time gold medalist.
Reality is coming. You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. I'm taking Paige. Next question.
So if you had the #1 pick this year, you would take Paige over Caitlin?
Absolutely.
I'd be curious to know if they still agree after this game, because reality has definitely set in. Caitlin Clark might just be the best point guard in the WNBA. Diana Taurasi learned that the hard way, and you'll see why in this video. Right from the first play, Aaliyah Boston shows she's in mid-season form, chasing down a missed 3 from Mitchell and putting up the first points for Indiana. On this next play, all 3 of the Fever's all-stars get involved. Clark makes an entry pass to Boston in the post, who quickly scans over her left shoulder and delivers a perfect bounce pass to Mitchell, cutting across the baseline, who finishes with a smooth reverse layup. You can really see the chemistry between Clark and Boston here. Clark hesitates just long enough to give Boston time to get into position, then threads a bounce pass around Griner's outstretched arms, and Boston lays it in off the glass. It's a strong start for the Fever, forcing the Mercury into an early timeout. Phoenix finally gets something going, and when all else fails, they turn to Brittany Griner. She rises above the defense and sinks a fadeaway jumper over 2 defenders. Speaking of shooting over defenders, watch as Caitlin comes off a screen from Nalissa and lets one fly from NBA range, knocking down her first 3 of the game. When Caitlin starts hitting from deep early on, it's never a good sign for the other team. Kalia Copper is showing why she was such a key player for Team USA in the Olympic final, picking up right where she left off in Paris. She nails a jumper from the elbow off the dribble. While she's a solid defender, she couldn't stop Caitlin Clark, who danced around her on the perimeter, spun inside, and finished at the rim while drawing the foul for an and one. Of course, Caitlin sank the free throw to complete the 3-point play. Caitlin was in control early on. Check out how she probes the defense and splits it with a perfect bounce pass to Smith under the basket for an easy layup. Diana Taurasi, the 6-time Olympic gold medalist, finally made her mark, spinning past Boston for a smooth layup off the glass. But Phoenix couldn't keep up with Indiana's youth and speed. Clark zoomed down the court, blew past Griner, took a slap to the face, and still managed to finish for another old-fashioned 3-point play. That gave her 10 points, and it wasn't even halfway through the first quarter. Watch Caitlin's awareness here. She knows the defensive attention she draws. Sophie Cunningham is face-guarding her at half court, but Caitlin drops back and creates a 4-on-3 advantage for her team. After a screen from Boston, Lou Samuelson takes advantage and catches Taurasi off guard, cutting to the basket and scoring another easy 2 for the Fever. It's the little things that don't show up in the box score that really show how advanced Caitlin Clark is for her age. Even with her taking a seat on the bench, the Fever kept up their fast-paced style. Watch as Mitchell goes coast to coast, pulls up for a mid-range jumper, and then knocks down her first 3-pointer of the game. And there she is again, top of the key, matched up with Copper. Mitchell puts the ball on the floor, steps back, launches, and scores. That's 10 first-quarter points for Kelsey Mitchell, and the Fever are pulling away early. The quarter ends with, who else? Caitlin Clark. She's out for revenge, catching and shooting a deep 3, helping the Fever take a 19-point lead. Clark finishes the first quarter with 13 points, hitting a mid-range shot at the buzzer, though her team still trails by 17 points. Caitlin's on fire, starting the second quarter just like she ended the first, with another 3 from the same spot. That's 3 triples already, bringing her up to 16 points. Absolutely unreal performance from the soon-to-be Rookie of the Year. With all her scoring, it's easy to forget she's also the WNBA's assist leader. Check out this bullet pass to Nelissa Smith in transition, who finishes through contact for an and one. The Fever now lead 41-18. This is turning into a blowout in Indianapolis, and it just gets worse for Phoenix. Clark doesn't let up, firing another pinpoint pass to Kelsey Mitchell for an easy layup. She could probably find a needle in a haystack with passes like this. It might be one of her best assists of the year, but honestly, she has so many of them, it's hard to keep count. Even Erica Wheeler is hitting threes in this game. The Fever's lead is now up to 28 points, and we're not even halfway through the second quarter. Finally, the Mercury gets something going, with 42-year-old Diana Taurasi coming off a screen to knock down a big three, cutting the lead to 25. Everyone's feasting in Indiana this game. Nelissa Smith, off a pass from Clark, muscles her way inside and makes a tough shot over Sophie Cunningham. That basket makes her the third Fever player to hit double digits. Actually, make that 4, as Erica Wheeler turns the corner and dishes it off to Boston at just the right moment, bringing her total to 10 points before halftime. Indiana is dominating Phoenix inside, with a 26, 2 points in the paint advantage. Credit the Fever's defense, but there's really no excuse for Phoenix, especially with the tallest player on the court. Quietly though, Phoenix starts to build some momentum. Natasha Cloud hits back-to-back threes, and then Diana Taurasi, this time from the corner, drains another, giving the Mercury 9 quick points. This little 11-2 run becomes important later. You'll see why if you stick around to watch the full game. At the half, the Fever lead 54-37. That first half might be the best basketball Indiana has played all season. Everything we talked about, playing too slow, not playing to Caitlin's strengths, was the complete opposite today. Caitlin was able to play at her Iowa-style fast pace, outrunning the older Phoenix team and taking advantage of the Fever's youth. Clark was phenomenal, putting up 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in the first half alone. Boston, Mitchell, and Smith all chipped in with over 10 points each. But it all started with Caitlin. She's the catalyst, getting everyone involved, and when her three-point shot is on, there's really no one in the WNBA who can stop her. Caitlin Clark's talent is undeniable, and she's been proving it from her very first games. Even the biggest names in history need time to showcase their full potential, especially in major leagues like the NBA and WNBA. As Clark continues to get acclimated to the WNBA, her mindset and skills are being honed to make her an even more formidable player. Her quick learning ability is evident in her evolving perspectives. Before her debut as a rookie, Clark didn't see much difference between the NCAA and the WNBA. "I don't think it'll be any different from college," Clark said. "I've played in front of big crowds every single game, so these environments don't scare me or affect me at all. I think just embrace it and enjoy it. I'm sure there will be a lot of basketball fans here who really appreciate the game." However, her perception shifted after her first game. She has since admitted several times that the WNBA game is much more physical than she anticipated. She experienced this physicality firsthand during the Indiana Fever's third straight loss on Saturday. "The physicality is definitely up there. I'm easily pushed off screens," Clark told reporters. "The game seems a little fast for me right now, but the more I play and the more comfortable I get, it's going to slow down a bit. It'll be easier for me to make reads and see things develop." Clark is quickly adapting to the game, showing significant improvement with each match. On Monday, the Fever nearly secured a win, but narrowly lost 88-84 to the Connecticut Sun. Clark scored 17 points, hitting 5 of 11 shots and making all 4 free throws. Despite injuring her ankle, she played for 27 minutes, adding 5 assists, 3 rebounds, and 5 turnovers. Although the Fever lost, the game was a clear sign of their progress. Veteran guard Kelsey Mitchell, who started the season with an ankle injury, has been regaining her form, which has benefited Clark. In the final moments of Monday's game, Clark played a key role, contributing to 17 of the Fever's 23 fourth-quarter points. The excitement surrounding Caitlin Clark is at an all-time high, and for good reason. Some frustrated fans have even edited the Wikipedia page of Indiana head coach Christy Sitz following Clark's first 2 WNBA preseason games. Clark played in 2 preseason matches for the Fever, but has not yet participated in a regular season game. Fans are already expressing their dissatisfaction with side's management of Clark, who is expected to be a key player in the WNBA. Clark had a strong preseason debut against the Dallas Wings, but shot 4 for 12 in last Thursday's game against the Atlanta Dream. Sides commented on Clark's performance, saying, "I think she's used to some shots that she's taken in the last few years that are just those shots she's going to get open looks. She's got to figure it out. I gave her a rule the other day. She has 0.5 seconds to make a decision." Christy Sides also talked about Clark needing to change some habits. When she gets off the ball and hits someone in the high post, she tends to hang out and dance around. That's something she's used to doing, and it's a habit we need to break. One of Clark's upset fans even accused Sides of trying to undermine Clark's game, editing Sides' Wikipedia page to claim she's the only coach capable of damaging what the WNBA aims to achieve with Clark. The edited entry in the Indiana Fever section reads, "Sides got her first head coaching job in 2022 when she was hired as the 9th head coach in Indiana Fever franchise history and the only coach that could possibly ruin what the WNBA is on track to accomplish by ruining Caitlin Clark's game." During Caitlin Clark's pre-game warm-up in Brooklyn on Saturday, she paused for an interview with NBC's Today hosts Hoda Kotb and Jenna Bush Hager. Later, she posed in uniform with Trailblazer Billie Jean King. In between, Clark played a game, scoring a career-high 22 points with 8 assists and 6 rebounds. Notable figures like Jason Sudeikis, Megan Rapinoe, Sue Bird, and Dawn Staley watched as she dominated the court. Clark's first week in the WNBA highlighted both her star power and the challenges of transitioning from college to the pros. She debuted in Connecticut and Indianapolis, and following her first game in New York City, she received mixed reactions. Fans eagerly awaited wearing number 22 shirts and holding signs, and Clark tried to accommodate as many selfie and autograph requests as possible. Caitlin acknowledged that she needs to handle physicality better, be more decisive in navigating screens, and develop more chemistry with Indiana's posts. She assisted last year's Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston, on 4 of Boston's 12 field goals in 2023. Indiana guard Erica Wheeler assisted Boston on 24% of her field goals, according to PBP stats. Clark's assists to Boston haven't been evenly distributed across games. The Fever knows they have much to improve on as a team. Through 3 games, they are allowing 18 fast break points and 17.3 second chance points per game, both second highest in the WNBA, a significant drop from last year. Their defense is conceding more than 116 points per 100 possessions, the worst in the league. Failing to contest shooters in the first half of their loss to New York on Saturday was as damaging as any offensive issues. Clark often talks about the importance of being kind to herself. She's seen both the ups and downs of being a pro, becoming the first WNBA player to record 21 turnovers in their first 21 games, and the second after Candace Parker to achieve over 50 points, 15 assists, and 10 rebounds, according to Across the Timeline. "I know people expect me to do amazing things, but it might take some time," she said on Tuesday. On Saturday, she added, "I think the more we play together, the better our chemistry will be." Despite the Fever's 0-3 start, Coach Christy Sides noted progress. The team faced tough losses, including a 21-point defeat to Connecticut and a 36-point blowout on Thursday. Before Saturday's game, Sides stressed the need to compete and asked her team to understand what that looks and feels like. The 11-point loss to New York showed more of the fight Sides wanted. "We couldn't figure that out the other night, and that was so frustrating," Sides said. Now we kind of have an idea of where we are. The Fever are a young team with potential, competing against some of the WNBA's best. This is going to take a little time, All-Star guard Kelsey Mitchell said on Saturday. Mitchell, recovering from an ankle injury, came off the bench in Indiana's first 2 games. Playing against the best of the best is the only way we're going to get better. During one sequence in the second quarter on Saturday, Clark missed a deep three-pointer, giving the ball back to Liberty. On New York's next offensive possession, Ionescu faked a pass, then nailed a 3 while Clark failed to contest. Running back on defense, Ionescu shrugged as if to say Clark shouldn't have left her open. "She never stops moving," Clark said of Ionescu. "She's always on the move, always got a bounce in her feet, and I think that's something I can try to replicate in my game." Clark is getting used to her new pro routine. At Iowa, the Hawkeyes would sometimes show up 90 minutes before tip-off, warm up, and play. But for Tuesday's opener at Mohegan Sun Arena, she arrived more than 2 hours early. In the locker room, Clark ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and joked with Wheeler while getting a massage. "She's not used to being at the gym this early, so I told her she needs to find things to do, whether that's stretching, watching film, or filling the time," Wheeler said. Clark hasn't had much downtime, as Indiana's opening stretch includes 7 games in 12 days, with matchups against the Sun, Seattle Storm, and Las Vegas Aces in the next week. When asked about her activities outside of basketball, Clark said, "I'm about to move into my apartment, so I'm moving out of the hotel. That's fun." Veteran Fever center Mika Catchings praised Clark's composure, saying, "I'm so proud of how she is as a person. I just hope we can band around her. It's a lot of pressure." Clark, handling pressure from both her team and the sport, is focused on playing fast and competing. She looks forward to visiting new arenas and making memories. "I'm going to remember a lot of these games because it's my first year in the league," Clark said.
Not a flagrant foul penalty one, which it probably should have been upon review, at least by our account. This, you could have gotten Reese for a personal, but can also see that being a no call.
Fans are really upset that nobody from Caitlin Clark's team is there to back her up as she faces tough times on the court. It's unfair for Caitlin and pretty sad from Angel Reese's perspective. While many NBA and WNBA veterans have shown their support for Clark, Angel McCoughtry took it to the next level. She's offered herself to the Indiana Fever, ready to come in and defend Clark.
Caitlin, she's a great player. I'm a fan of her. I think our girls jealous. I don't know. She got $28 million from Nike.
She's getting a $28 million deal from Nike, which is huge considering that half of the WNBA players won't even make $1 million in their entire careers. A retired 5-time WNBA All-Star has stepped up, offering to be Caitlin Clark's bodyguard as she keeps getting targeted by other players. Angel McCoughtry, now 37, weighed in on the recent buzz surrounding Caitlin Clark after Chennedy Carter's cheap shot on Saturday. Clark's fans are hoping for someone to step in and protect the Indiana Fever star since her current teammates aren't doing much. Speaking with TMZ Sports, McCoughtry said she's willing to come out of retirement to be Clark's bodyguard if the Fever needs one. She's got more than just a tough attitude on the court. The 2-time WNBA scoring champion, drafted first overall in 2009, sounds ready for a fight.
Lead. McCoughtry skying in, able to finish in the foul.
"Take care of your players, all of y'all," McCoughtry said.
Take care of your players. All of y'all. I mean, I don't care who it is.
McCoughtry said it boldly, showing her willingness to join the Indiana Fever to defend and support Caitlin Clark. Former NBA players and others in the basketball community have raised concerns about protecting Clark as some WNBA players try to gain a physical and psychological edge over her. Fellow WNBA players seem to think they can make a name for themselves by targeting Caitlin Clark. Meanwhile, Fever teammates have passively watched as Clark gets pushed around on the court. During Saturday's win over the Chicago Sky, Fever players stood by as Chennedy Carter unnecessarily hip-checked Clark on an inbound pass. Since that dirty play, no Fever teammates have stepped up to defend Clark or voice their support. McCoughtry added, "I don't care who it is, If somebody's dragging your player down by the neck, I'm in your face. What the hell are you doing? Hey, we could go have lunch later, but right now, we're competing. Don't grab my player like that.
I'm gonna step up for you. Somebody get my teammate face. Here I am.
Why is that happening, Angel?
After receiving a lot of criticism from fans and veterans like McCautry, Indiana Fever players have shown their intent to fiercely defend rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. They've been facing a whirlwind of opinions accusing them of not safeguarding their star player. The #1 pick in the recent WNBA draft has endured a lot of physical play, sparking debates over her teammates' protective efforts. Kelsey Mitchell, one of the team's leaders, addressed these criticisms head-on after a recent practice, stating, "At the end of the day, not only is she human, but she's a 22-year-old kid. There are certain things she's going to experience over time," Mitchell said.
She deserves to give herself some grace, and I think a lot of people around this world should too. And I think that at the end of the day, not only is she human, she's a 22-year-old kid.
It's our job as a team to make sure she's covered from a standpoint of feeling mentally and physically safe. Obviously, we want her to feel at home all the time, stressed Mitchell.
She's going to transition. There's going to be things that she's just going to experience that comes with time. And I think that the world should give her some grace. I really do. And I think that's our job as a team to make sure that she's covered from the standpoint of feeling mentally and physically safe, obviously. But psychologically, we want her to, at the end of the day, she got to go home and sleep. So that's our deal. We want her to feel at home all the time.
The backlash intensified after a controversial incident involving Chicago Sky's Chennedy Carter during a heated game. Carter shoved Clark to the ground, and the Fever players were criticized for their slow response and lack of confrontation towards Carter's antics. Angel Reese and other Sky members even applauded the cheap shot, highlighting the contrasting reactions between the two teams. This behavior has alarmed many, including politicians. Indiana Representative Jim Banks is demanding answers from the WNBA to ensure Clark is protected from such incidents. Banks sent a letter to Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, seeking details on the league's plans to safeguard Clark. In his letter, Banks praised the increased fan interest in women's basketball that Clark has generated before referencing Carter's seemingly unprovoked foul. He also mentioned that the foul was visibly cheered on by Carter's teammate Angel Reese. While acknowledging the state's familiarity with tough basketball, Banks described the incident as a cheap shot that could have resulted in an injury and should not be tolerated. He criticized the lack of punishment for Carter beyond a retroactive upgrade to a flagrant foul and some unrelated fines for missing media appearances. To Banks, this indicates that the WNBA isn't holding hostile players accountable or enforcing their own rules of sportsmanship. Banks posed several questions to the commissioner, including what steps the WNBA is taking to curb excessive physical targeting of specific players, whether individual organizations will be held responsible for allowing players with histories of violence to target their competitors, and if repeatedly diminishing fellow players' talents benefits the league's overall success. He also asked if it is inspiring to young female athletes to see players like Caitlin Clark physically targeted for their success. There's no question that many WNBA players have struggled to hide their resentment towards Clark for the attention and money she generates through endorsement deals. The WNBA's only hope of achieving lasting relevance in the broader sports landscape is by creating and sustaining stars. Clark is essentially the first star of this magnitude the league has had in years, if not ever. It is not in the league's best interest to allow other players to target her, especially if that targeting leads to injury. Banks' questions are crucial, and the WNBA's answers may be even more so.
What an incredible talent she is, 2 Final Fours, leading scorer, history of college basketball. So I look forward to watching her ongoing development in the league.
But the response to this letter from the WNBA commissioner is epic. Speaking at his usual press conference ahead of the NBA Finals on Thursday, League Commissioner Adam Silver addressed the flagrant foul by Chicago Sky guard Chennedy Carter on Indiana Fever player Caitlin Clark last weekend. He called it a welcome to the league moment, adding that it's nothing new in basketball.
It's nothing new in basketball that there's sort of welcome to the league moments.
Carter's off-ball foul against Caitlin Clark on Saturday has sparked an outcry from critics, who argue that Carter appeared to go out of her way to throw her hip and shoulder into Clark, who had her back turned and fell to the ground after the foul. Silver addressed a wide range of topics, including Clark's rising stardom in the league, the future of the WNBA, and an upcoming media rights deal. Of course, I want to see Caitlin Clark treated fairly and appropriately in the league, Silver told reporters. I would say it seems like she can take care of herself. She's a tough player.
Of course, I want to see Caitlin treated fairly and appropriately in the league. I would say it seems like she can take care of herself. She's a tough player.
Following the foul on Saturday, Clark told reporters she was doing her best not to let it get to her. I think at this point, I know I'm going to take a couple of hard shots a game, and that's what it is. I'm trying not to let it bother me and just stay in the game and focus on what's important, because usually it's the second person that gets caught if you retaliate. Silver called the passionate interest in Clark, as well as her rivalry with Chicago star player Angel Reese, very healthy for women's basketball and the league.
I think ultimately this is very healthy for women's basketball in the WNBA.
It's generating a lot of extra interest, Silver said. To be fair to the other players and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, this didn't just start this year. He noted that while the WNBA has had several star players in recent years, Clark has significantly increased interest in the league.
It's generating tremendous additional interest. In fairness to the other players and in fairness to Commissioner Engelbert, this didn't just start this year. Certainly, we're seeing an acceleration of it with Caitlin, but many individual stars who came in this league in the last several years, and then again, I've been with the league for a long time, so I was there the early days with Val Ackerman, and of course David Stern when we developed the WNBA.
If you look back at our original business plan from 28 years ago, we didn't anticipate it would take this long to achieve the level of popularity we're seeing now, Silver said. Ultimately, I don't want to make too big of a deal about one player or one call. However, the growing rivalries in professional basketball, both between teams and individual players, can be beneficial for the sport, he continued.
If you went back and looked at our original business plan from 28 years ago, we didn't think it would be such a long timeline to kind of break into the sort of popularity we're seeing now. So ultimately, I don't want to make too big an issue about one particular player, one particular call, but I think the burgeoning rivalries in professional basketball, you see rivalries obviously among clubs, but also among individual players too. And I think that can be ultimately good for the sport.
Earlier this week, ESPN host Pat McAfee apologized for referring to Clark as a white bee.
I utilized the words white bee to describe Caitlin Clark as being the superstar. Those were not my intentions, but that's how you took it. That's on me. I do apologize.
During a segment discussing whether race has influenced the WNBA rookie's rapid rise, Silver said he accepted McAfee's apology and considered it a misstep. Regardless of the commissioner's views, Caitlin's growing fan base and her exciting yet kind style of play are what's truly genuine, Silver said.
Under 5 minutes to go in the first, it's Caitlin Clark. The ball's knocked loose, doesn't matter. 29 feet away, pulling up from Alexandria, boom. No problem.
Caitlin Clark just delivered the explosive performance we've all been waiting for. She nailed 7 three-pointers and scored over 30 points in front of a packed crowd of more than 20,000 fans, turning a dream scenario into reality for us supporters. In this remarkable game, Clark became just the second rookie in WNBA history to hit 7 three-pointers and reach a career-high 30 points. She matched Crystal Robinson's rookie three-point record from 1999 and surpassed Tamika Catching's record of 6 from 2002, setting a new franchise record for the most three-pointers by a rookie in a single game. Her standout performance not only led the Indiana Fever to an 85-83 victory over the Washington Mystics in the Commissioner's Cup, but also won over fans who had seen her struggle in earlier games. Moreover, she silenced critics who doubted her ability to adjust to the WNBA's standards. The game which was moved to Capital One Arena to accommodate the high demand to see the top draft pick, saw Clark shine in front of a record-breaking crowd of 20,333. This was the largest attendance for a WNBA game since the 2007 finals and the second best performance since 1999. Clark also added 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and a career-high 4 steals to her impressive stats.
At this time 1 week ago, we were gearing up for Caitlin Clark to go against Angel Reese for the first time in their WNBA careers. And by the time the Fever Sky game was over, the conversation had changed to Kennedy Carter's foul on Clark, a foul the WNBA would later upgrade to a flagrant foul 1 the very next day, and it was a foul that launched 1,000 takes.
Caitlin Clark has made history as just the second rookie to score over 30 points, grab more than 5 rebounds, dish out over 5 assists, and hit more than 5 3-pointers in a single game. She also became the fastest WNBA player to reach 200 points and 75 assists, achieving this in just 12 games and surpassing Sue Bird's record of 14 games. "It felt great to shoot well. Even my misses felt close," Clark said after the game. "It was nice to have a night like this. Overall, we shot the ball really well. 16 made threes. I still see so many areas where I can improve, and I think that goes for our entire team." Clark is determined to maintain her high level of play, knowing she hasn't reached her peak yet. Her standout performance also led the Fever to deliver the Mystics their 11th consecutive loss, marking the worst start in the franchise's history. Kelsey Mitchell, Clark's backcourt partner, added 16 points, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Both Aaliyah Boston and Nalissa Smith contributed 10 points each. The team secured their second Commissioner's Cup win, moving to a 2-1 record in the competition. However, despite her impressive performance, Clark is still dealing with some rookie challenges, including leading the league in turnovers. She had 8 more turnovers in this game, bringing her season total to 67. Interestingly, she matched her career high of 30 points from May 28th against the Los Angeles Sparks. Along with her 6 assists, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals, she made 7 of 13 three-point attempts, tying a WNBA rookie record, and hit 5 consecutive shots from beyond the arc in the second half.
Yeah, I think it's a process more than anything. It felt good to shoot the ball well. Like, I feel like even my misses were like right there. I thought multiple were still going in, and it was nice to have a night like that.
Clark's confidence in her game is evident from recent performances. Earlier, she discussed the learning curve she faced in her first 11 professional games. After scoring just 3 points in a season-low performance against the New York Liberty on Sunday, Clark rebounded with what many consider the best game of her young WNBA career, thanks to a 4-day break. During this time off, Clark mentioned that the Fever took the opportunity to refine their set plays and practice against ball screen blitzes that had been challenging them. Against the Mystics, Clark found space to create off those screens, explaining, "As a shooter, once you see 1 or 2 shots go in, the basket just seems bigger and bigger." Indiana head coach Christy Sides noted that the strategy to get Clark more action off screens was deliberate, aiming to reduce her workload. "She started feeling it late, which is always a good sign," Sides said. Defensively, Clark made an impact with a steal under the Washington basket to ignite a transition bucket in the first half and added another steal shortly after. By halftime, she had 4 assists and 3 steals, energizing the fans. Playing against the struggling Washington Mystics, who have 11 losses this season, also gave Clark a chance to look more at ease on the court. She mentioned before the game that she felt her passing was up to her standard, even as she and her Fever teammates continue to build their chemistry. Clark is also satisfied with her rebounding stats, considering her size. The 2-time NCAA Player of the Year came into Friday's game averaging 15.6 points, 6.4 assists, 5.1 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and a league-high 5.4 turnovers per game. Clark believes that as the game slows down for her, those turnovers will decrease. To reduce turnovers, Clark showcased her ball handling skills with a smooth one-handed drive and a scoop shot for 2 points in the first quarter. On the next Fever possession, she demonstrated her court vision with a give and go with second-year forward and 2023 top draft pick, Aaliyah Boston. Despite this, some flaws in Clark's game from the first 6 weeks of her professional career were evident on Friday. In the first quarter, she was stripped by fellow rookie Julie Van Loo, who then hit a transition three-pointer before Clark could recover. Clark responded with a step-back three-pointer near the Mystics logo. With the Fever starting 3s in 9, Clark is gaining a clearer understanding of how much experience counts in the WNBA. She offered some realistic insights into her situation, noting, if you're the number 1 pick, you're probably going to a team that didn't have the best year before. It can be tough at times. One of the positives from the first 11 games has been the team's energy, which Clark says has remained consistent since their first game. Recently, Clark has been more in the media spotlight, particularly after taking hard fouls from the Chicago Sky's Chennedy Carter, which the league later upgraded to a flagrant foul. Clark addressed the controversy before Friday's game and stated she wasn't seeking an apology from Carter. While Carter faced criticism from fans upon the Sky's arrival in DC, Clark's performance highlighted her resilience and ability to rise above the situation.
And she's having a tremendous season. She's played great basketball in my eyes, probably in first place for 6th player of the year. And, it's just basketball at the end of the day. There's no grudges. There's nothing like that. It's a sport. It's competitive. It's not going to be nice all the time. That's not what basketball is. And I think people that play that at the highest level understand that.
Clark acknowledged that she was fully aware of the physical challenges she would face in the WNBA. Maybe some people didn't understand the circumstances, she said. Clark continued, "You're starting a new chapter and a new phase of your career as a professional athlete. It's not going to click overnight. That's just not how it works." Clark has been emphasizing this since the beginning of her WNBA career, but both she and her fans are well aware of her exceptional talent and quick learning abilities. She plays in front of sold-out crowds in large arenas, and the excitement only seems to grow with each game. While Angel Reese might not see it now, it's Caitlin Clark who has made the WNBA the talk of the town, drawing record-breaking crowds and increasing viewership for fans watching from home.